Have you ever looked at your phone, scrolled through your contacts, and realized how quiet it has become? Names that once filled your days with laughter, shared routines, and easy conversations now feel distant, almost frozen in time. Maybe these were people you worked with for years, neighbors you saw every morning, or friends you met for coffee without ever needing to plan. And now, after retirement, the silence can feel confusing, even painful. Many people assume friendships fade because we grow old or because people stop caring. But the truth is far more gentle and far more hopeful than that. Today, I want to talk with you about the real reason friendships often fade after retirement and why it's not a personal failure or something to feel ashamed of. This matters deeply, especially later in life, because connection is just as important as food, movement, and rest. When friendships fade, it's easy to feel invisible, forgotten, or left behind. But understanding why this happens can lift a heavy weight off your heart and open the door to new ways of feeling connected again. In this conversation, we'll explore what truly changes after retirement, how friendships were often built on structure more than we realized, and how that shift affects our sense of belonging. And as we move through this together, you may start to see that what feels like loss is often just a transition waiting to be understood. For many years, friendships were woven into the fabric of daily life without much effort. Workplaces, schedules, routines, and shared responsibilities quietly did the hard work for us. You showed up at the same place every day, at the same time, with the same people. Conversations happened naturally. Complaints, jokes, support, and shared victories all flowed from simply being together. These friendships felt strong and lasting, but often they were supported by something invisible, structure. When retirement arrives, that structure disappears almost overnight. There's no shared lunch break, no hallway chats, no reason to see the same people 5 days a week. And when that foundation quietly falls away, friendships can begin to drift, not because the bond wasn't real, but because the environment that sustained it is gone. This can feel like rejection, but it's usually not. It's simply the result of a major life change that no one prepares us for emotionally. Another part of this shift comes from how our identities change after retirement. For decades, we were known by what we did. Teacher, engineer, nurse, manager, technician. Those roles gave us common ground with others. They gave us easy topics to talk about and shared challenges to relate to. After retirement, many people feel unsure of who they are without that title. And when we're unsure of ourselves, reaching out can feel uncomfortable. Conversations feel different. We may worry we have nothing interesting to say anymore, even though that couldn't be further from the truth. This inner uncertainty can quietly pull us back. We wait for others to call. We tell ourselves they're busy or not interested. And little by little, distance grows. Not from a lack of care, but from a lack of confidence in this new chapter of life. Many friendships fade not because people don't want connection, but because no one knows how to restart it without the old routines. There's also the reality that retirement often changes our energy levels and priorities. What once felt easy can now feel tiring. Driving across town, staying out late, or keeping up with group plans may feel like too much. So invitations get declined. Phone calls are postponed. And over time, the rhythm breaks. This doesn't mean you've become antisocial or uncaring. It means your body and mind are asking for a different pace, one that many old friendships were never designed for. At the same time, retirement can bring unexpected emotional shifts. Some people feel relief and freedom, while others feel loss, grief, or a quiet sadness they can't quite explain. When we're sorting through those feelings, social connection can feel complicated. We may not want to burden others. We may not have the words to explain what we're feeling. So we withdraw, hoping the feeling will pass. But connection is often what helps us heal, even when we don't realize it. One of the most overlooked reasons friendships fade is that many were built around shared activity rather than shared vulnerability. Work friendships, for example, often revolve around tasks, goals, and daily experiences. When those disappear, the friendship may not have learned how to exist on its own. This doesn't mean the bond was shallow. It simply means it was designed for a different season of life. Understanding this can be incredibly freeing. It allows you to stop blaming yourself. It helps you see that fading friendships are often a natural response to major life transitions, not a sign that you are unlovable or forgotten. And once you see that clearly, something shifts inside. The sadness may still be there, but it's softer. It's mixed with compassion instead of self-criticism. As these changes unfold, many people begin to wonder if deep friendships are still possible later in life. They may assume that everyone already has their circle, that it's too late to start again, or that making new connections requires energy they no longer have. But this belief, while common, isn't true. What is true is that friendship after retirement looks different. It grows more slowly. It values depth over frequency. And it often begins in quieter, more intentional ways. As we sit with these thoughts, it becomes clear that fading friendships are not the end of connection, but a sign that something new is needed. Something that fits who you are now, not who you were before. And this realization gently leads us to the next part of the journey, where we begin to explore how connection can be rebuilt in ways that feel natural, nourishing, and deeply satisfying at this stage of life. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. As retirement settles in, something else often sneaks in quietly, and it has nothing to do with time or age. It's the shift in identity. For decades, friendships were built around who we were in the working world. We were coworkers, teammates, problem solvers, people with shared schedules and shared pressures. Conversations happened naturally because life placed us in the same rooms, at the same times, with the same goals. When that structure disappears, many friendships don't fade because the connection wasn't real, but because the environment that supported it is gone. What surprised me most was realizing how much effort friendship actually requires once the automatic systems disappear. At work, you didn't need to plan a coffee chat or think about calling someone. You just saw them. After retirement, connection requires intention. And for many of us, that feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. We tell ourselves that if someone really wanted to stay in touch, they would call. Meanwhile, they're thinking the exact same thing. So both sides wait, and silence slowly fills the space. Another piece of the puzzle is how differently retirement unfolds for everyone. Some people retire and feel relief. Others feel lost. Some dive into hobbies, travel, or caregiving. Others face health challenges or financial stress they never talk about. When lives start moving in different directions, it becomes harder to relate in the same way. Conversations that once flowed easily can feel strained, not because the friendship is broken, but because each person is carrying a different reality. There's also the emotional shift that comes with aging that we don't talk about enough. As we get older, we become more selective with our energy. We're less willing to tolerate draining conversations or relationships that feel one-sided. That can be a healthy change, but it can also mean letting go of people we once stayed connected to out of habit. Sometimes friendships fade not from conflict, but from quiet choice. We choose rest over obligation, peace over small talk. And while that choice can bring relief, it can also bring loneliness if we're not careful. Technology plays a role here too, especially for those who didn't grow up with it. Many friendships now survive through quick messages, group chats, or social media updates. If that world feels confusing or overwhelming, it's easy to drift out of sight. It's not that others don't care, they may simply assume you prefer privacy. And without realizing it, weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some friendships were built around a season of life, not a lifetime. That doesn't mean they weren't meaningful. They were exactly what we needed at the time. But when the season changes, the relationship may no longer fit. This can feel like a personal failure, but it isn't. It's a natural part of life's rhythm. Just as we've changed jobs, homes, and routines, our social circles change too. What helped me was letting go of the idea that fading friendships meant something was wrong with me. Instead of asking, why don't they call anymore? I began asking, what kind of connection do I want now? That small shift changed everything. It moved me from waiting to choosing, from loss to possibility. I also learned that rebuilding connection doesn't require grand gestures. It starts with simple curiosity, reaching out without expectation. A short message, a phone call, an invitation to walk or sit and talk. Not everyone responds, and that's okay. The goal isn't to recreate the past, but to allow something new to form, whether with old friends or new ones. Another important realization was that companionship doesn't always look the way it used to. Deep, lifelong friendships are wonderful, but they aren't the only source of connection. Sometimes joy comes from lighter interactions. A friendly neighbor, a weekly class, a familiar face at the market. These small connections add warmth to daily life, and they matter more than we often admit. As we grow older, friendships become less about quantity and more about quality. It's not about having a long list of people to call, but having a few meaningful connections where you feel sane and comfortable being yourself. And those connections can still grow, even now. Retirement doesn't close the door on friendship. It simply changes how it enters our lives. Understanding this opens the door to a gentler approach. Instead of mourning what faded, we can honor what was, while staying open to what might still come. That openness, more than anything, is what allows connection to return in unexpected ways, sometimes deeper and more authentic than before. As retirement settles in, there's a quiet shift that often happens inside people, and it doesn't get talked about enough. You begin to notice that some friendships haven't just changed schedules, they've changed shape. Calls happen less often. Invitations fade. And without any dramatic falling out, distance slowly takes the place of closeness. For a long time, many of us assume this means something is wrong with us, or that we somehow failed to hold on. But what I've come to understand is that this phase of life invites a different kind of connection, one that asks for intention instead of habit. One of the most freeing realizations is accepting that friendships don't fade because we stop caring. They fade because the structure that once held them together disappears. Work schedules, shared routines, and daily proximity used to do the heavy lifting for us. After retirement, those supports are gone, and what's left is the need for conscious effort. That can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent decades letting friendships grow naturally through shared responsibilities. But discomfort doesn't mean impossibility. It simply means the rules have changed. There's also a quieter truth that emerges as we get older. We become more selective with our energy. Long conversations that once felt exciting can now feel draining. Social gatherings that used to recharge us might leave us tired. This doesn't mean we're becoming antisocial or cold. It means we're listening more closely to ourselves. When friendships fade because they no longer align with who we are now, that's not failure. That's growth. And making peace with that truth opens space for relationships that feel lighter and more nourishing. Another important piece is learning to grieve friendships without bitterness. Not every ending needs a villain. Some friendships served us beautifully in one chapter and simply don't fit the next. Holding on too tightly can keep us stuck in comparison, always looking backward instead of noticing what's possible now. Letting go doesn't erase the value of what was shared. It honors it by allowing it to remain in the past where it belongs, without dragging it into the present. At the same time, joy doesn't return by waiting for others to reach out. Retirement teaches us that connection now grows through small, brave actions. A simple message. A short phone call. An invitation for coffee without expectations attached. When you stop measuring effort and start offering it freely, something shifts. Not everyone will respond, and that's okay. The goal isn't to recreate the social life you once had. It's to build one that fits who you are today. There's also something deeply meaningful about allowing new kinds of friendships to form. After retirement, friendships don't need to be intense or constant to be real. Sometimes they're built around a shared walk, a weekly class, a casual conversation with a neighbor. These lighter connections may not look impressive from the outside, but they carry warmth and presence. They remind us that companionship doesn't always come with history. Sometimes it begins with a simple hello. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you stop expecting friends to fill every emotional space. In earlier years, friendships often carried many roles at once: support system, entertainment, identity. Later in life, it becomes healthier to spread those needs out. Some fulfillment comes from quiet routines. Some from personal interests. Some from solitude. When friendships are no longer asked to be everything, they're free to be something genuine. It's also worth saying that rebuilding connection doesn't mean abandoning independence. In fact, the strongest friendships in this stage of life often grow between people who are comfortable standing on their own. When you enjoy your own company, you approach others from a place of choice, not need. That energy is felt. Conversations become easier. Expectations soften. And connection becomes something shared, not demanded. As you move through this stage, it helps to speak gently to yourself. Loneliness doesn't mean you've been left behind. It means you're human. It means you're adjusting. And adjustment takes time. Be patient with the quieter days. They're not empty. They're preparing you for something different, something that may arrive slowly but with more depth than you expect. If friendships have faded since retirement, you're not broken and you're not alone. You're simply standing at a crossroads where relationships shift from automatic to intentional. That transition can feel tender, but it's also full of possibility. The connections that remain, and the ones that are yet to come, have the chance to be more honest, more peaceful, and more aligned with who you are now. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you noticed friendships changing since retirement? How have you learned to cope, or even grow, through that change? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. If this conversation resonated with you, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We're here to talk honestly about aging, connection, and finding meaning in every season of life. Thank you for spending this time with me. Friendship doesn't disappear with retirement. It simply asks us to meet it in a new way. And sometimes, that new way turns out to be quieter, deeper, and more joyful than we ever imagined.